Hi, and welcome to another episode of Get Your Chat On with GYC Vegas, recorded and produced at the Video Podcast Studio. I'm your host, Gina Yager, founder and director of GYC Vegas, an award-winning PR and marketing agency. We believe every company has a story to tell, and we're passionate about getting businesses recognized. At Get Your Chat On, we sit down with local professionals to get to know a little about their organization, their role, and their perspective on our vibrant business community here in Southern Nevada. On today's episode, we're chatting with Brian Scroggins, CEO of the Emergency Management Foundation. Brian has dedicated his career to disaster response and emergency management, serving our community through some of its most challenging moments, from the tragic Route 91 shooting to the UNLV campus incident. A graduate of FEMA's Advanced and Executive Academies, he was honored as the 2018 International Association of Emergency Managers Emergency Management Volunteer of the Year. Today, he continues to serve first responders and the community through his foundation and as chaplain for multiple law enforcement and emergency service agencies across Southern Nevada. Brian, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I appreciate it. You made me sound good.
You've had such an interesting, amazing career. Tell us about Emergency Management Foundation first.
Well, I started volunteering about 10 years ago and got involved with Clark County Fire Department. A lot of agencies come here and do training, so I started taking a lot of training and kind of started the Emergency Management Foundation to kind of continue that service role. We support police and fire with both equipment needs and behavioral health. As you mentioned, I'm a chaplain with some organizations, and so I do a lot of ride-alongs with police and fire, make sure that their mental health state is good. You know, police and fire have large numbers of suicides and addiction and divorces and different challenges with life, and we try to talk to them and help them to take that edge off so that they can have not only a good career but a good retirement also.
Mm-hmm. Journey to today. You've done so much in your career. Kind of walk me through the path of your career and kind of what led you to where you're at now.
Yeah, I originally came to town right out of college. My wife and I, we've been married 38 years now, but came here and my undergraduate degree was in art, so I helped to open up the Mirage Hotel many decades ago. Then got into public relations and marketing and did some fun things, started my own business, and then started serving on state boards and commissions while I had my business going. When I retired at a fairly early age from my business because it was successful, I ran a couple of state agencies, and then about 9 months ago, I got a call from the governor's office. So for a paycheck, I oversee nuclear projects for the state of Nevada, which is an interesting topic in and of itself with all the new technologies and storage and reprocessing and things like that. But had started, prior to that position, started the Emergency Management Foundation, and so I kind of continue with both of those.
Wow. That's a lot. And just, yes, in two different places, but both were, still working, serving the public and serving the community. You've had such a successful career in both of those aspects. Before accepting a calling from your church to become Nevada's statewide emergency manager, how did that spiritual calling help shape your approach to disaster preparedness and response?
Well, I grew up with parents who were raised during the Depression, so it was always meant that you need to be prepared for something. They didn't always have the ability to run to the store, those sorts of things. So I kind of had that mindset growing up and was always taught to prepare. My dad was big on make sure you don't get into debt too much and make sure you have things kind of aligned. And so I grew up in that vein of thought. And again, just kind of a service background. I served a mission for my church. I was always engaged in the community, again, serving on county and state boards and commissions and things like that. And then when, as you mentioned, when the 1 October came along, I was called into service there, and it kind of allowed me to continue into service, and it was very purposeful, so I continued to do that.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of that was, one of our community's darkest hours. You were thrust into, those moments immediately following the Route 91 shooting, overseeing spiritual and emotional care, and then donations management and volunteer logistics. What were those 18-hour days like in the beginning there at the Family Assistance Center, and what kept you going during that time?
Well, I woke up the morning following the 1 October and quite early and had all these messages on Facebook from families. Are you okay? How's your family? How's community? I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I looked it up. And so I immediately got showered and shaved and headed to the Emergency Operations Center down at Station 18, Clark County Fire Department. On the way, I got a call from Clark County saying, can you come down? Can you assist us in these things? And so when I got there, I was given the assignment to oversee initially spiritual emotional care. And so went down, we formed the Family Assistance Center at the Convention Center, had a lot of room there. And when we got there, families started showing up, someone who had lost their fiance the night before, their daughter, their friend. And so I brought in a lot of other pastors, priests, and rabbis to help me out because obviously it was not a one-person operation, but oversaw those. And I was there. I was running another state agency at the time, so I took 2 weeks off work and just stayed there running those 18-hour days. As we started, the first couple of days were tough because we were dealing with the coroner's office, helping people identify bodies of friends and things like that. But then there were a lot of other needs that came up, and then people started dropping things off, donations management. The fire department asked me to oversee that also. I made a decision. In disasters, there's always a lot of things thrown away at the end of the disaster and a lot of wasted. And so we decided people started dropping off a ton of stuff. And so I brought in some other volunteers to help us coordinate that and categorize what was coming in, water and food and blankets and things like that. And so we ended up with about 54 pallets of things. And at the end of it, we redistributed those to nonprofits throughout the Las Vegas Valley to make sure they had their needs met. So I just made a decision at that point. I wasn't going to tell people if a little old lady from North Las Vegas drove down here with a case of water, I wasn't going to say, we don't need that, because that's the way she could heal. So she contributed. I told her we would use what we could, and we'd bless other nonprofits with what we had left over. So that's exactly what we did.
That's amazing. Leading through crisis, managing hundreds of volunteers during a major disaster requires incredible coordination. What did you learn about leadership and human resilience that carried you forward to then respond to another incident with UNLV?
Well, I think Mr. Rogers said one time that, you watch for the helpers, like his mom told him, and during a disaster, you watch for those that are helping. And so I think that was very purposeful to me. So many people wanted to help. We had people dropping off supplies from California and different states coming in. My phone number got out there, so I was getting calls from all over the United States about how can we help, different fire stations, Chicago, New York, whatever it might be. And so it was very wonderful experience. We had one volunteer because, again, we had a lot of people come in, and this wasn't like a massive flood where we needed to have thousands of people cleaning up yards and things like that. But we had one volunteer who, her husband was stationed at Nellis Air Force Base. She came down. She was a real godsend, helped us we ended up feeding all the people that were there, not only the victims and families, but all of the police and response agencies that were there, FBI and everybody else. So she had a lot of good community resources. So again, when I first got the assignment, I, knelt down and said a little prayer, said, hey, I need some help, and inspire me what to do and send some people my way. And that's really what happened. And we had a lot of good people that came in. But I learned that, everybody thinks about Las Vegas. Oh, it's gaming, it's this, it's whatever. But it's really a community. And we love each other. We pull together in times of difficulty. And that's really what happened.
You now serve as chaplain for Metro, Las Vegas Fire and Rescue. What does being a chaplain for first responders mean to you, and how do you support those who carry these really heavy burdens?
Yeah, it's really a kind of unique position, and I really love it. Metro issues me a bulletproof vest, and I'll do ride-alongs with Metro, and whatever officer I'm with that day, whatever calls they go on, I go on. So it might be a shooting, it might be a robbery, it might be a domestic violence call, whatever it might be. But it's very purposeful. When I'm with these officers, anything we talk about is confidential. So unless they're threatening to hurt themselves or others, it's, I don't reveal any of that information. It's like talking to a clergy. And so we may talk sports, we may talk about family issues, we may talk about really anything that's on their mind. But we just are trying to get them to understand that, first of all, we care about them. We know that they're serving us in the community, that they have a difficult job. Both police and fire see incidents that most people don't see in their life. They'll pull a a drowning child out of a pool. They'll, they go to somebody who's having a heart attack. They go to a stabbing or a shooting. So they see those things, and then they're just told, okay, now go back and go to the next one, go to the next one. And so we're trying to get that edge off. Sheriff McMahill has done a wonderful job with the Wellness Bureau, where they have clinicians on site. So we just are kind of the first line of approach. And if they have additional challenges, and sometimes they do, they're referred to these clinicians who can help them get additional resources that they might need. But like I said, our first responders have a difficult job. They're doing things that nobody else wants to do, and they're seeing things that nobody else wants to see. We can pretend those things don't happen, but they really do. And they're there, and it's very purposeful for me to be there to help them.
And is it, do you just get randomly assigned, or is it someone who's specifically asked to have a chaplain ride along, or how does that usually work?
Well, with Metro, I have a minimum of 20 hours a month I'm supposed to spend with them. Las Vegas Fire and Rescue, about 10 or 15 hours a month. I just started as chaplain for the University Police System, which covers UNLV, College of Southern Nevada campuses, and Nevada State University. So we've just started going to briefings with them. But I'm the chaplain for South Central Area Command with Metro, which covers basically Paradise to Pecos, Warm Springs to Sahara. So I can go in. It's actually easy to be a police chaplain because they're open 24 hours a day. They have 3 shifts a day. So I can go on midnight ride-alongs, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 o'clock in the morning. I go to a lot of community events to support them. So fire is a little more difficult, and I only say that because they're on 2 days, they're off 4. There's only about 4 days a month I can go visit with the firefighters that I'm assigned to. But it's just a lot of fun. A lot of people say, "Oh, that's really scary," but for me, it's interesting. It's exciting. One time we had a shooting that we responded to, and at the end we were there for 4 or 5 hours for all the different aspects. And one of the officer I was with said, "I'm really sorry because I know it was so boring." I said, "Well, it was like a live action Law and Order to me. I got to see CSI, I got to see the investigation." And they said, "Hey, chaplain, come over here. We want to show you something." So it was a lot of fun.
Major events. So you've worked security and emergency management for high-profile events like F1 and the Super Bowl. How does preparing for these events, for these massive events, or differ from, should say, disaster response? And what does keeping hundreds and thousands of people safe look like?
Well, with F1 and the Super Bowl, I've worked at F1 since the very beginning. So for 3 years, I've gone down with Clark County Fire and helped them with logistics. And the Super Bowl, I was over at the F1. I was actually there at the event. Super Bowl, I was at the Emergency Operations Center off-site. And people said, "Well, what did you do?" And I said, "Well, I sat around and I observed." And they go, "You didn't do anything?" And I said, "Well, we're there in case something does go wrong." And we were certainly blessed here that there haven't been any major events or major incidents that happened during F1 or Super Bowl, but we're there in case they do. And that's why first responders are there, of course, to do things like direct traffic, et cetera, but they're there if something does happen. But, it again, very exciting to be involved in that. The first year, I really paid attention to the race. We were right in the pit, and so I got to see all the excitement. But for the last couple of years, well, a lot of people call me, "How do you do that?" And I go, "Well, volunteer for 10 years, and they'll maybe give you an assignment." But the last couple of years, I paid attention to the other aspects, like how do you feed all those people? How do you, sanitation facilities, how's the trash coming in and out, and other sorts of things, because it's just such a massive event to watch. And so it's very intriguing just to see all the parts and pieces come together. And I'm not used to working overnight shifts at my age, but I would go to work at 2 o'clock and get off at maybe 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah, I have a very good friend who just retired from the police force, and he always, throughout his entire career, worked graveyard on purpose because he said that's when all the fun stuff happens.
Yeah.
National recognition. So let's talk about your journey from business professional to nationally recognized emergency, management leader. What advice would you give others who are maybe starting out in their career or feel called to serve their community?
Well, after the 1 October incident in recovery, a firefighter nominated me for that award, and I was honored to go back to Michigan at the conference and pick it up. And We get a lot of recognition. I won some awards with Metro and some other local awards. I was part of the Hometown Heroes for Glittering Lights just this last season out at the Raceway. But I would say, obviously, don't seek recognition. It will come. But, we're kind of taught you don't serve to get recognition, but sometimes it comes. And, of course, if you're trying to raise money for a foundation or get your brand out there, then if it wasn't posted on social media, it didn't happen. So you kind of have to do that. I do post a lot on social media about the events that I do, the officers that I see. Again, I never reveal any confidential information, but, hey, I'm glad to be here this morning at UNLV or at the South Central Area Command or at the fire station. So I would just say kind of find your mission, your calling in life, and pursue that, and the other things will come.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, now I like to do just it's a Mad Lib style, doing business in Las Vegas, fun section about networking. And I see you out and about at tons of networking events. So I know you'll easily answer these. So you just fill in the blank, tell me what the first thing is that comes to mind. The key to networking in Las Vegas is to always remember to...
I think be authentic and be there. Again, I go to a lot of events. I go to so many events that I have people come to me and say, "What office are you running for?" Well, I'm not running for office. I'm running for cover this year. But I go to events because you can network. I'm looking for funders and people that can serve on my board. And so I think just to be there. And if you're shy, I think I was born an introvert. I don't think I am now, but I think I figured, hey, unless I step it up, I'm not going to accomplish the things I want to. So I think come out of your shell a little bit, say hi, shake some hands, make some connections.
Mm-hmm. One thing every new transplant to Las Vegas should know before doing business here in town is to never underestimate the power of
connection and being honest. I've lived here 37 years, and if you do someone wrong in the Las Vegas community, it will get around. So be honest with people. Give them a fair deal. I mean, obviously businesses make profit, and that's what they do, but be honest with people and give them good service, and then the word will spread. But if you take advantage of somebody, you'll be kind of short-lived here in the Valley.
You sure will. When it comes to connecting with a business contact over lunch or drinks or coffee, you can't go wrong meeting up at?
I like Town Square, any of the restaurants there, because I live close to there, and my state office is close to there. So I always tell people, can we meet at Town Square? That way it's convenient for me. But I will travel around, and I try to take my lunch hour every day to meet up with somebody just to connect about my job or my nonprofit, just to and again, I'm big on helping other people get success in their lives. So I met with someone this morning at a Starbucks, actually, and we chatted about how they could help me and how I could help them, because I think that's what it's about. I always heard success is based on helping other people get what they want. And so you help them, they help you. It's a win-win.
It's a great motto to remember. Personal lightning round of questions. So Brian is so much more than all of these things, all the great work that you've done. So if you could teleport anywhere in the world right now, where would you go and why?
Well, I know there's a lot of exotic places I could go, but actually I had a son who was in Madagascar for 2 years. He came home Thanksgiving and then is off to college now. So I really would teleport 6 hours away to go to lunch with him. That's really what I would want to do.
Where is he in college at?
He's up at BYU.
Okay. What did you want to be when you grew up?
I was voted most likely to host Saturday Night Live in high school. When I had hair, I looked like John Belushi, and I acted a lot like John Belushi. So,
really?
And I've done some stand-up comedy here in town a little bit over the years. So I thought I was going to be a stand-up comedian. I thought I was going to be the new John Belushi, but it didn't happen.
Serving others was more of your calling than making them laugh. Yeah, but you
still,
can still make them laugh,
that's right? That's part of it.
And if you could have a superpower, what would it be and how would you use it?
Well, I think if you could read people's minds, you could determine whether you're wasting your time or not. Like if you go to somebody on a fundraising meeting and you can hear them saying, "I'm not going to donate," you say, "Hey, thanks for your time. I appreciate it." You move on. Or you could say, "Hey, maybe I need to say a little bit more in this direction," and try to win them over. So
I like that. It's been really humbling learning about your service to the community, from disaster response to supporting our first responders. Your dedication is truly remarkable. Tell us how people can learn more about Emergency Management Foundation, how they can support the organization and your mission.
Yeah, we currently we don't have any paid staff, and so all of our money goes right into programs and projects. We are trying to raise some money right now to do a mobile support center that we would take to, massive incidents, but also use it for community education. And we've had some good companies like the Gene Haas Foundation gave us $25,000, and some others have contributed. We're applying for grants, but our website is EMF. We had a longer one, the Emergency Management Foundation.org was a little long, so we shortened it to emfserves.org. And my email is brian@emfserves.org. So be happy to chat with anybody about how maybe they could invest in our nonprofit.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode. Be sure to follow us at GYC Vegas on Instagram, Facebook, X, and LinkedIn, and subscribe to our channel wherever you stream podcasts. And if you want to learn more about how your business can enhance its marketing efforts through the power of PR, visit our website at gycvegas.com. Thanks for listening to Get Your Chat On with GYC, and we'll see you next time.